This tiny European capital almost looks unreal at first glance, but is Valletta Malta actually worth visiting, or is it just another overrated historic city? In this Valletta travel guide, I'll show you the best things to do in Valletta, the most beautiful places to visit, real travel costs, and whether this UNESCO city is truly worth your time and money in 2026. Valletta Malta is best known for its golden baroque architecture, historic fortifications, and breathtaking views over the Grand Harbour that instantly make the city feel like an open-air museum. And this was something I noticed almost immediately as I started exploring. As one of Europe's smallest capitals and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Valletta is packed with history, yet surprisingly easy to explore on foot, which made the whole experience feel much more relaxed than I expected. What stood out to me the most is how the city feels like a mix between Rome's history and a compact Mediterranean island, but without the overwhelming crowds you'd normally expect. When it comes to the best places to visit in Valletta, one of the best ways I explored the city was simply by doing a Valletta walking tour, because almost every street led me to something unexpected. And stepping inside St. John's Co-Cathedral completely caught me off guard with how rich and detailed the interior is. At Upper Barrakka Gardens, the view over the Grand Harbour was easily one of the most impressive I experienced in Malta. And walking through St. George's Square and the Grand Master's Palace made me feel like I was right in the historical heart of the city, while Republic Street had a much more lively and energetic atmosphere than I imagined. When I reached Lower Barrakka Gardens, the contrast was noticeable right away. It felt quieter, more peaceful, and almost like a hidden escape within the city. And entering through Triton Fountain and Valletta City Gate gave me a strong first impression from the very beginning. Fort St. Elmo stood out not just for its history, but also for its location and views. And watching the saluting battery ended up being one of those small moments that I unexpectedly enjoyed. While places like the Church of St. Catherine of Italy and Auberge de Castile added even more character to the city with their architecture and atmosphere. When it comes to the best things to do in Valletta, what stood out to me the most was simply exploring the historic streets, where almost every corner felt like stepping into a different time. And as I walked through the city, I kept noticing the golden baroque architecture that gives Valletta its unique character. Visiting the ornate cathedrals was another highlight, especially because the interiors felt far more detailed and impressive than I expected. And the panoramic harbor views were even better in person than they look in photos. Watching the daily cannon firing at the saluting battery turned out to be one of those small experiences that I almost skipped at first, but ended up really enjoying. And photographing the traditional Maltese balconies quickly became one of my favorite things to do because they add so much color and personality to the city. Taking a break in the scenic gardens gave me a chance to slow down and take in the atmosphere, while exploring Valletta's historic theaters and browsing small local shops made the experience feel more authentic. And of course, trying traditional Maltese food in small restaurants around the city was something I wouldn't skip. You can easily explore Valletta by starting at the main city gate and walking along Republic Street. And as I followed this route, I naturally kept turning into smaller side streets filled with historic spots and hidden corners worth discovering. From there, I continued all the way down to Fort St. Elmo, then slowly made my way back by visiting Lower Barrakka Gardens, walking through streets with beautiful views over the three cities, and ending at Upper Barrakka Gardens, where some of the best views in Malta are waiting for you. What I really liked about this route is how flexible it feels. You can comfortably do it in half a day, or take your time and turn it into a full day experience, ending with a relaxed dinner in the city. Getting around Valletta was much easier than I expected, and during my visit, I ended up exploring almost everything on foot since the old town is very compact and perfect for walking. Along the way, I noticed people using electric scooters or bikes to get around a bit faster. And there are even small tourist trains and modern tuk-tuk style vehicles offering guided tours around the city. For longer distances or getting to and from Valletta, Uber and taxis felt very convenient and easy to rely on. I personally didn't stay in Valletta, but while exploring the city, I noticed there are many beautiful boutique hotels spread across the old town, often set inside historic buildings with a lot of character. If I came back, I would probably choose a boutique hotel close to Republic Street, because that area felt the most lively with plenty of restaurants, cafes, and bars open until late. It just seemed like the perfect location to enjoy Valletta both during the day and in the evening. When it comes to travel costs in Valletta, I found it to be more affordable than many cities in Central Europe, especially considering how touristic it is. On average, a casual lunch cost me around $15 to $25 per person, while a nicer dinner with drinks was usually between $25 and $45. A simple coffee, like an iced Americano, was usually around $3 to $5, which felt quite reasonable for such a central location. Entry fees are also quite fair, with places like St. John's Co-Cathedral costing around €15, and while the saluting battery itself costs about $3 to enter, you can actually watch the cannon firing for free from Upper Barrakka Gardens above. If you're traveling on a budget, you can easily save money by choosing local cafes, trying affordable street food, and enjoying the many free viewpoints around the city, which still give you a great Valletta experience without spending much. One thing that really stood out to me in Valletta was the food, and I was honestly surprised by how much the cuisine feels influenced by Italian flavors, from eggplant-based dishes to fresh seafood and well-prepared meats. I had the chance to try traditional Maltese rabbit, along with dishes like steak and beef carpaccio, and overall the quality of food consistently exceeded my expectations, especially around Republic Street and the nearby side streets where there are so many great restaurant options. If you enjoy Asian cuisine, I'd personally recommend AKI for dinner, as it was one of the places I tried and genuinely liked for both the atmosphere and the food. When it comes to nightlife in Valletta, what stood out to me is how relaxed and atmospheric it feels, rather than wild, with most of the experience centered around cozy bars and restaurants. In the evenings, walking through the streets around Republic Street felt especially enjoyable, with the city coming alive in a way that still feels elegant and not overly crowded. If you're looking for a more energetic nightlife scene, areas like St. Julian's are a better option, but Valletta is perfect if you prefer a more laid-back and atmospheric night out. One mistake I think many people make is rushing through Valletta too quickly, because even though the city looks small, I realized there's a lot to explore if you slow down and actually enjoy the streets, viewpoints, and atmosphere. Another thing I noticed is that during the middle of the day, it can get very hot and crowded, so visiting earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon made a big difference for me. And if you're planning to eat around Republic Street in the evening, I definitely recommend making a reservation, because some of the best restaurants can get fully booked surprisingly fast. Here are a few essential travel tips for Valletta that made my experience much easier, especially if it's your first time visiting. One thing I realized very quickly is that the city is extremely walkable but also surprisingly hilly in certain areas, so comfortable shoes really make a difference if you plan to explore all day. During my time there, the heat was definitely noticeable, especially in summer, so having water, sunscreen, and maybe a hat is something I wouldn't skip. Another thing that makes Valletta very easy to navigate is that English is widely spoken, so ordering food, asking for directions, or booking tours felt completely effortless. And even though most places accept cards, I'd still recommend carrying a bit of cash for smaller cafes and local spots. If you're wondering whether Valletta is worth visiting, after spending time here myself, my answer is definitely yes. What impressed me the most about Valletta is how it combines rich history, authentic local atmosphere, and stunning harbor views all in one compact city, where you can truly feel the culture as you walk through its streets. For me, it was one of those places where every corner felt meaningful, from the historic architecture to the small everyday moments that let you experience the traditions of the island. And if you're planning your own trip to Malta, you'll definitely want to check out the upcoming videos on the channel, where I'll be sharing more detailed guides, experiences, and tips from my journey.